So good afternoon. My name is Arley Martinez. I am 23 years old, and I currently right now live in Mid City. It's a little section in Koreatown, in Los Angeles, California. I was born here in LA, raised in Mexico my first 2 years of after being born, and then I was brought back to the U.S. at the age of like around 2.5, and ever since then, this has been my permanent residence. So yeah. So I was born in a in a household with both mom and dad. I you know I'm an only child, so it I would say that my childhood was very normal in the beginning. After my parents divorced when I was around 6, 7 years old, things started changing. Um, my father, he never really finished, I believe, middle school or high school, something around that. My mom, on the other hand, she actually studied law and sociology in Mexico, and she used to work for the government. So, it was growing up, my first couple of years, it was a little weird because, I had two different worlds trying to raise me. So, but after, like I said, my parents divorced, my mom is the only one who has raised me ever since. And, you know, her expectations have always been super high. She's, been tough on me, but, like the good tough, like, read books, have this, do that, set your goals, accomplish them, strive for, something greater, be, the best version you can be without, with as much humbleness as possible, because that's how she is. And, she's always taught me to do the righteous thing because that's what she always believed in. And so, growing up, I never had any issues growing up at home. My issues were always outside of home because how I was being brought up and raised was very different from how the world really worked. And, my mom, she was overprotective in the beginning, but, after years passed, she started realizing that, there was only so much she could do. So, but I could say, I never saw any, you know, major violence. I didn't see, my environment where I live in the city that I live in, it's not that dangerous. Like, I've never seen any violence growing up, gunshots, any of that. So I could say it's been a really decent place to live. So, my family, like I said, I what I do remember from my dad's side of the family, they were pretty nice people. I don't really talk to them or anything like that because, well, I don't know. I guess, now I see it a little different, but from what I remember, they they were very good people. I had a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts, a lot of uncles here, for my dad's side of the family. For my mom's, I only have one aunt and two cousins, and they've been, there with me since day one. I love them with all my heart. They try to see them as much as possible, but as I've grown older, distance has been an issue. Also, one of my cousins now, she's all the way in Merced, so it's like hours away. My other cousin, I try to, communicate with her, but in the end, I feel that, there's a strong bond between them and I and my aunts too, and we get along as much as possible. And I believe that, in general, my relationships with my family members are pretty good. The rest of my family is in Mexico, and every now and then when I go, excuse me, you know, um, I'm always welcomed by them. I don't really have any issues. There are some minor, discrepancies here and there, but overall, I feel that, if it's any discrepancies, it's between like brothers, like my mom and her siblings, as opposed to me and my cousins. So overall, it's I feel that there's very healthy relationships between them and I. So that's pretty much it when it comes to my family. Like I said, the environment where I grew up was very nice. I necessarily though never went to school around the area where I live. My mom always believed that, she always sought better schools than the ones that were around my area. So I did attend elementary school for, I believe, first to fourth grade. It's a couple streets down from where I live. For me, that was the first and biggest radical change of my life because, I started what was it? Like, I was ending fourth grade at this elementary school one day, and then the next day, I switched to another school located in Brentwood. So that was like the first, you could say, biggest change for me. It was really difficult to adjust because, like I said, I was so used to this, my environment, my friends here. So going to another elementary school was pretty radical. It was all due to my mom always, like I said, trying to find better schools for me. It was considered like a medical magnet, so it was very, hard. And so I never really grew up with friends around my area. All my friends have always lived a little, far. So, I haven't really had that, life of, oh, I'm gonna go visit so and so that's like 2 houses down, or I'm gonna go kick it with my friends at the park because, well, I really don't have friends around here. So that's always been an issue that I've grown up with. And yeah, but I mean, overall, the friends that I do have, although they live far, we try to make time and hang out once in a while, or catch up, because as I feel that it's important to see them once in a while and always communicate. I do firmly believe that that's how friendships work. So yeah, so like I said, growing up was difficult. It was, I would say, a little difficult because, like I said, first, my mom, she is a very strict, very, firm lady. So, my respects to her. She did a lot, back when she was younger. So when she came to the US, she really tried to raise me with the same ideologies, and some of the ideologies that she also tried to teach me was like, or you could say indoctrinate me with, was like, Christianity. And that's always been some kind of like a little issue because as you guys may know, I do try to keep a very close relationship with her. I try to maintain a healthy, transparent relationship with her, but there are some things that I have not discussed with, and some of those things, are my struggles of today. As you guys may know, I came out not too long ago. I've come out to many, but she's one of them that I have yet to. Just time. I believe time will tell. So but overall, growing up wasn't, like I said, the problems were not really here at home. They were always outside of home. Elementary school, like I said, that change of one elementary to another in literally one day was kind of hard. I had to adjust, and like I said, that was like my first ever really one of like the toughest experience as a young child, because the transition was very just sudden. So I had no option but to do as it was being told. Where I went, Brentwood Science Magnet, it was a very distinct school from where I was. Like I said, I don't really live in a very they would put it like ghetto area. But compared to that other school, it was something totally different. You know, it was predominantly like Asian and white people. So adjusting to that was very um, was challenging, and I believe that because of that, I you know, habits and ideologies started, being integrated in my life and kind of made me see the world a little different. So, but elementary school overall was pretty. I mean, my elementary years overall were pretty okay. During my middle school um, period, it was also as well a little difficult because I went from a nice elementary school uh, in Santa Monica, in a rich area, to a farther place in Canoga Park. Adjusting was again difficult for me, being a city boy from LA, having uh, ideas from Brentwood, and now going to Canoga Park was a little challenging. I did meet amazing friends. I met, I had a group of amazing people surrounding me. Excuse me. That's where I met my best friend Carlos. And, during middle school, it was very, very, I would say, not tough, but a little rough, because that's when, you know, I started getting to mold myself. And something that not many people know, and I've never really told anyone this, but I knew what I liked from the beginning, like since elementary. I knew what I was inclined to. And one of the struggles that I faced in middle school was trying to hide that and trying to be someone that I wasn't. I remember, I had a couple of individuals that never really liked me, or you know, it was different. We always clashed, and so I always, I it was just a weird, you know, stage in my life. During middle school, I somewhat was bullied, but at the same time, I was the bully too. So, it was a very messy, period. But as at the same time, it was a very great period because I got to develop myself with, the friends that I had. We had a little clique. I remember it was like Jessica, Carlos, Yadira, Eric, Julio. It was just a lot of us, Lachey. Um, and, I also got along with people who were younger than me. So it was interesting. It was, some golden years. But that's when I started to hinder myself a little bit and, like I said, be someone that I really wasn't. So all that kind of affected me in the long run, because by the end of 8th grade, I was completely someone that like I said, I wasn't. And I started seeing the world a little different after I graduated from Columbus. After I graduated from Columbus, I went from Canoga Park all the way to East LA, in a school called Bravo Medical Magnet High School. Again, it was a little difficult for me because at Bravo, it was a whole different environment. It was a different vibe. The students were different. A little recap. Bravo back then was a school for like very, I would say, smart kids. And I've always known my potential. I've always known that or anyone in general has a potential to achieve whatever they want. But after middle school, like I said, saw things different, and I used my high school period as a period of like kind of reinventing myself and actually being the person that I truly was, but with fear. Um, Going to Bravo, my ninth grade was really, an amazing year. I would say I met a lot of cool people. I started meeting, hanging up, socializing more, being a little less shy as I was, during the previous years, and I adjusted pretty quick. Um, it was, a clean start for me. I didn't really know anybody there except for my best friend Carlos, a couple other people. I believe Jeremy, his sister, and Stephanie. Just a few of us. It was like 4 people. So um, I, like I said, utilized that as a um, what do you call, an opportunity for me to just kind of start fresh. Because in middle school, I kind of gave the wrong version of myself, and it was that's where my problems started beginning. So when high school started, like I said, I tried to start fresh from zero, but as time progressed, I was going back in the same circle of trying to be someone who I wasn't. So throughout like 10th grade, I started, trying to, be the class clown, trying to, I started focusing on other people, on everyone else but myself. During high school, I would say that I found myself, but I lost myself. I hit, you know, rock bottom for the first time, but I also, um, had a good, I would say good years. So it was just a mixture of everything. During 10th, 11th grade, I would say were the years where, was the year where, I would say my darkest year. During that period, I began to kind of accept who I was now. But again, like I said, with fear, I started trying to, please others and disregard myself. My mental health was going down, my physical health, emotional health, everything. You kind of get into this like weird position of like, oh, I'm trying to be the best, but I didn't know how to. I had no siblings to look up to. I didn't have anyone to guide me, so I kind of was doing things on my own, paving my own path, trying to, just, I don't even, up to this day, I really don't know what I was trying to do, but 11th grade, I would say, was my biggest and most darkest year. That's when things really started going downhill. I thought I was doing good in school, and I remember, the day that I really, had my first wake-up call. And I'll always forget this day because, I believe that they really made an impact in my life and kind of shook me a little bit and was like, you know what, like I have to get my stuff together and I have to really start focusing on me. It was one day when we were taking the SAT test for college, and I remember me and my friend Martha, we were going to get one, and as we were, there, we were I started talking to my college counselor, Mr. Millet, to my counselor, Mr. Millet, and I remember just clearly asking him for, a SAT fee waiver because there was a lot of pressure throughout that year, trying to get into college, trying to, see who could get into like the best colleges and whatnot. And I thought I was doing great, I thought I was okay until he had a list of everyone's name and their GPAs, and he saw mine, and, in front of a couple other classmates, he said, you know what, Arley, like, you're not probably gonna even graduate, so I'm not gonna give you, like, he denied me the SAT fee waiver. And I remember him just saying, I'd rather invest it in someone that is basically worth it. and you know, you just try to focus on even passing your classes this year and next year, and hopefully you graduate. And I remember, you know, that was like my first big wake-up call. That was my first time I've ever felt like a true failure. It was, to me, that moment was life-changing, because for the first time reality hit me, and I was starting to kind of, that fantasy idea was starting to fade, and you know, the real world started hitting me. And so what Martha did was, you know, I think we all had well, you know, the ones who qualified for it had a maximum of 3 SAT fee waivers, I'm sorry. And so she got 2 and she gave me 1, and I'll never forget that. Martha, thank you for, you know, literally taking one of your for giving me that opportunity to take the SAT fee waiver, I mean the SAT test, for giving me the opportunity to prove, you know. I want to thank her for really, you know, allowing me to take that, and you know, it was just something so benevolent of her. And I don't think, not just any friend would, you know, even the close friends that I had didn't do something of that, you know, magnitude like she did. And to me, that meant the world. You know, after that moment, I started doing a little worse. Physically, mentally, emotionally, I was declining. As time was going, I was starting to kind of embrace who I really was, and you know, with who, you know, I just wanted to express myself, but with fear, like I said. And I remember just, you know, it was hard. Friends started kind of alienating themselves away. Well, they started alienating me, I'm sorry. Kind of, you know, putting me to the side, and I don't blame them. Like, you know, I wasn't really the best of the best influences, and I probably would have done the same if I was in their shoes. I don't know, but I started developing, you know, eating disorder, not really eating much. I was self-conscious about myself physically. Emotionally, I was showing emotion to someone that really, you know, wasn't proper, I would say. And just for the sake of this person's privacy, I'm not gonna really get into much, but I started kind of living again the fantasy world, and started being someone who I wasn't. And you know, it got to the point where even my mom lost hope in me, I would say. She gave up on me. I remember just like towards the end of junior year, she just had a talk with me. She said, you know what, from this point on, you're kind of on your own. Like, I've raised you well enough, and it seems that my work didn't pay off, so just do you. And to me, that was like the hardest and the biggest wake-up call ever, because losing support from your only pillar is probably the toughest thing that could happen to you. And so after that talk with her, I really felt like there was really no point in life anymore. And you know, dark ideas started coming to me. There were mornings where I didn't really see the point of it all. There were moments where I didn't really, you know, I wasn't thinking right, and I was thinking things that maybe many people have thought in the past. Friends started giving me their backs, even more friends. It was it was a difficult end to 11th grade. When senior year came, I remember I told myself that I was gonna make the best out of it, and now that I think of it, I think I did. Um, I was going, class from 7 to 3, taking 2 adult school classes from, I believe, like 4 to 6 and 6:30 to 9. Like, I spent my whole senior year like that. That's, I think, the precise moment when that fire in me of not giving up started to ignite. That that motivation to prove people wrong started to kind of, sprout. And I remember just spending my whole senior year just working my ass out, doing things for me, focusing on me, and, kind of doing me and letting time do its thing. I remember, one night when I was, after my 9 p.m. adult school, I remember I had a friend, Emily, she, I think, took one class that she needed with me. And I remember one day, we rode the bus like at 9:30. It was like 10 p.m. And we rode the same bus because we kind of lived a little close. And, we just were talking about our future and after high school, going to college and whatnot. And I remember when she got off the bus, I broke down. I saw her cross the street and, go home. And me taking away, it was like 10:30, almost hitting 11 p.m. And never in my life did I feel so alone. And it was a different kind of lonely feeling because, as I said previously, I grew up being a single child, but I did grow up with friends and, family and stuff. But for the first time in my life, I completely felt alone. Being in an empty bus at 11 p.m. in high school, it hit different. It just really, I don't know, that night for me, I'll never forget that night, how I felt. And after that moment, I, just like I said, throughout senior year, I started just doing my thing, focusing on me. College acceptance letters came, and the next struggle that really hit me was getting denied from my top choice of college, which was Cal State LA. I remember getting that denial letter and also, shed a tear because I thought I was doing well again, and for that to really happen was kind of another disappointment. But after those experiences that I did live through in that short amount of time, I got myself together and I said, no, I'm not gonna conform with I'm not gonna let this no define me. So I really don't know what I did. I sometimes struggle trying to remember what exactly happened, but I took my ass out back to Cal State LA, talked to counselors, I think. The point is, I was able to get accepted through the EOP program and, start there. And for me, that was my first achievement that I felt proud of. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna let a no define me. And, fought through that little obstacle, and, I could gladly say that I pushed through and I got what I wanted. And from that point on, after high school, I started doing my own thing. I knew what I wanted to do from since the beginning of, probably middle school. Like, I've always wanted to pursue a career within the medical field, but I never really had guidance. I never really had someone to talk to me and say, this is how you do it, this is what you need, this is that. I kind of had to, really do things on my own. So after high school, I encountered a lot more struggles. Um, and during college, I changed my major like 3 times. And because, I wanted to find shortcuts, and I noticed that shortcuts weren't really the way of doing things. I also, started kind of trying to focus on other things too, because at that point I wanted to be a little more independent now. I wanted to, prove to me, to my mom, to people around me, that I was able to do it. And I started, I thank and bless my friend Mireya for allowing me to, for giving, opening doors for me. And as soon as I got out of high school, I started working at for USC Medical Center, CAC to be more precise. And from there on, I started kind of meeting people, kind of asking around how was this done, how was that done. And as I was trying to find a way to get to where I'm kind of at today, was a little rough. I got sidetracked multiple times. A lot of you guys may know I did I started doing direct marketing, and from there I went to trying to do like a small little side gig, making backpacks. So I had a lot of ideas, and I was trying to work around everything at once, and that kind of was another struggle that was another thing that I had to struggle with, was trying to manage what exactly I wanted to do. I wanted to do so much in so little time that I wasn't going anywhere. I was just running around in circles. So, and then from after, I got into a little debt with my backpack thing, and to top it off, I had a brand new car, my Honda Civic, and like 3 months after that, I got into a really bad car crash, and my car got totaled. My back got messed up, and it's been struggle after struggle, and to get to this point today. I got fired from my job like a few weeks after that. Another job, it wasn't CAC anymore. I was working at an assisted living. So, hardship started coming in once again. This was in 2018, so not too long ago. And to me, I started kind of like feeling how I felt during high school. Alone, miserable, like a failure. So like I said, I did learn from my previous mistakes, and I didn't let that define me as well. I picked myself up, did what I had to do, start talking to my, connections, start looking around for opportunities. And, today I could say that I'm not in a place where I want to be, but I'm in a good place. Right now I'm absolute head of household. I have my mom here with me, taking care of her as well, taking care of, my things, starting nursing school soon. I have, everything that I never thought I'd imagine I have. It's just, it's been constant struggles, and it's been constant battles with life. But one thing that I could tell people is that don't let any struggles define your now, because as time passes, that's not really going to matter anymore. So that's kind of like the everything in a nutshell of what really went through in my life and what's been going through. And you know, I know the struggles and all that won't really stop, but you just kind of have to live through it and be strong and, you know, endure in this life, because you know, you never know what's gonna happen next. So that's pretty much it. So I would say the biggest struggles for me has always been to, one, time management struggles. I was really shy in the beginning. That was a struggle that I had to deal with. Accepting who I was, you know, I knew I knew myself, what I liked and who I was since the beginning of time, since elementary years. But because of the environment where I, you know, that I had at home, and just, you know, the prejudice that, you know, is within society, it was really hard for me to kind of demonstrate that and own up to it. But you know, now that I'm here today, I could say that it gets a little better, you know, but it never, like, where I'm at today didn't come just because I sat here, you know, expecting only the best. Like, you know, I went through ups and downs. I've gone through a little more, far more things than, you know, what has been said. But as you guys could see, it hasn't been a very perfect, straight, you know, line. Like, it's up and down. So insecurities never really, you know, insecurities was part of the gay community. I do have insecurities, I'm not gonna lie. You know, men only for some reason are attracted to what they see physically, and that's something that, you know, I struggle with, not constantly, because I think I'm in a much better mental place, and so I see the world a little different. But for when I was younger, yes, I did go through a lot of insecurities. Like I said, I started developing some bad eating habits, not eating at all, over exercising, that's the thing. And so I was burning myself out trying to please people who didn't really matter, but at that point I guess they did. So, and now I would say that that's not really my main focus. Like, right now I'm just trying to do me. I have a lot of projects, I have a lot of things going on. School is coming up, so I'm preparing for that as well. And so right now I could say I'm in a good place, physically, mentally, emotionally. So yeah. Any fears? As corny as it sounds, my biggest fear would probably is failure. I've witnessed failure. I've been in that position for a couple times, so that's always gonna be my fear. I know we're not perfect. I know we're not, you know, something that, you know, could only do perfect, you know, things, but failure would probably be my biggest fear. Other than that, I don't think I could really, you know, besides spiders, failure, you know, is probably my biggest fear. Yeah. When it comes to my love life, you know, after high school, I started kind of exploring myself and exploring outside of what I was used to, and I haven't really found someone that I could say you know, I've had a connection with. I've met, you know, cool dudes. I've met cool people, but right now I think no one's mentally ready for anything. So, I'm just, I'm doing what I have to do. I'm doing my own things. I'm, trying to accomplish some goals. So I haven't really encountered someone with that same mentality. It's hard, especially, within this community, because no one really, like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, guys really don't, they want to have feelings, but then when someone shows them, they don't show them back, or there's not like, there's no reciprocation. So it's really hard. I don't necessarily feel the need to be in one. It would be nice to grow with someone, to kind of start, I'm turning 24 this year, so it would be nice to finally meet someone, and kind of grow and see where things go. But I haven't found anyone, and I'm just chilling, just doing my thing. So when it comes to that, I really don't have much to say. Just laid back. So as you guys did hear, my whole recap of my life, I just want to let people know that what you see on social media is not everything. Humans, people, life is far more than just what you see. Like, I believe that by sharing experiences like these, people could kind of, start seeing that life isn't perfect, and that if there are struggles that they're going through, or if there are, storms that they're passing through, that it's okay, that everyone goes through them. If not, you would practically be dead. I like this one picture that I saw on I believe Twitter a couple years ago, where it's basically like the heart rate, and how it has like the QRST wave, and the wave of the heart, and they compared it to life, that if your life doesn't have ups and downs and it's just straight, it means you're dead. So that really struck to me. And if people are going through really tough situations, to not let that define them. Don't let that define that moment, because it'll pass. And there are things to look forward to. There are things that later on you would see that, wow, like maybe it was worth it. Maybe all that pain, all those dark moments really led up to this moment, and you will start seeing life a little different. So I just encourage people to, if they need, emotional help, to seek out, emotional support, and to, just really take care of themselves, because if you don't take care of yourself, no one will. And if I had the opportunity to redo life, would I redo it again differently? Not really. I would change some decisions. There are some decisions that I did make that I wish I never did. But overall, I think that everything in my life has happened for a reason. And so I wouldn't necessarily change my whole life. I wouldn't trade it for another one. What I would do is make some adjustments. But other than that, I feel like I said, I'm in a really good position that not many people at my age are at. So I feel very proud of that. But if I could make life a little better, I would, by making a little more smarter decisions. So I don't think, I wouldn't necessarily redo life different. I would, just some minor changes. But yeah. Any last thoughts, comments? Well, like I said, I think I kind of made everything clear. If you need help, seek it. Always, every day's a new day. So every day you learn something different, you go through something different. So, just keep your head high, keep your standards high, and just try your best. Even if you fail one day, try again the next day and the next day, and you will see, you know, things change and happen for the best. And yeah, just, you know, hopefully these mini, you know, seminars or whatever you want to call this helps to, you know, create consciousness that life is just more than what is projected, that life is going through struggles and obstacles, and, you know, don't letting problems of the now define you permanently. I like this one quote. I don't know who said it, but it says, don't let permanent struggles define, don't let temporary struggles define you permanently. Like that, you know, I do want to share with you guys. And I hope that, you know, as this starts to grow a little more, people start realizing, you know, that there's not just one life that has to be lived. That everyone has their own story. Everyone comes from different backgrounds, and, you know, we're all just here to live. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more interviews with other people, so you could see more that, like I said, each one has their own story, each one has their own life, and I'm just here to share everyone's stories and everyone's life, and kind of let everyone see that we're all different, but we're all the same, and we're all just gonna go through this together. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and just stay tuned for next person's interview.